Good morning, guys. It's Caleb with Stain and Seal Experts, hanging out in the office, waiting on a great guest to come on this morning. And just wanted to talk about what we're going to talk about today. Um, Growing a team and having really good team members is a thing that you need in your business, I feel like. So I think it'd be a good thing for us to talk about that today. And so going to wait for a few folks to jump on here and bring up some questions, and then we'll get started. That sounds great. Let me know if you need anything. Dirk, what's happening?
Hey, how are you, man? Doing
Man,
all
I'm
right?
doing great. Yes, sir. I jumped on. I didn't know if you were going to make it or not, so I went ahead and got the show started. But um, Dirk, man, it's I think your specialty is building teams, right?
Yeah, we focus on helping companies build really strong and vibrant teams that work together well and kind of go after the objectives of the organization together.
hmm Nice. Where do we begin, man? What's the struggle you see in most service businesses today, and what advice? Let's go down that rabbit hole about team members, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, I think we work with a lot of service-based companies, and I think the number one thing that we see is at some point a technician somebody starts the business and they start the
Hey,
business because
hang on just a minute, Dirk. Something's going on.
they uh, uh,
All right, we're having some technical difficulties here. I don't know if you're still there. Looks like maybe one of us has a bad connection. I'm gonna kick you out and then throw you back in. That's it, guys. Fence staining guy trying to do technology. All right, so I met Dirk at a event in Florida, and we were.
uh,
Hey, Dirk, can you hear me? Yeah. Oh well. Anyways, I met Dirk at an event in Florida. We were, I think, at the maybe the International Builders Show in Florida or whatever. And Dirk was there for a power wash event, and so we met up with him. And Dirk, I'm not don't totally know what all Dirk does, but I know they help a lot of businesses grow, and I think his specialty is really helping people go from A to Z with team building, building award-winning teams, and that's something that really interests me. As you guys know, we got a team of people, and I'm sure anybody listening has a team of people. So going from the guy at the end of the stain gun or the spray wand or the hammer and nail to the guy in the office is a tough thing, and to do that you got to have teams. So that's what I was hoping that Dirk can talk to us about. So I see a couple of you guys this morning. Facebook user here says morning. We got Eric L that says I can see you. Guys, throw some questions up that you have or some struggles that you've had in your business when it comes to team building, when it comes to um, you know, hiring the right or the wrong people, just struggles you've had. Because I know I've had a few, and I'd love to hear what you guys have as well. And we'll try to get Dirk back on here. Let's see here. They're coming. They're coming. Yeah, I'm gonna bring another guy on. I'm gonna bring one of Dirk's partners on. Let's see here. There he comes. There he comes. All right. All right.
all
We're
right,
back in the saddle.
there we go. Sorry about
Hey,
that. I'm not sure what's going on with technology.
hey, yeah, it's technology, man. So you were talking about we heard nothing you said. So welcome to the show,
Okay,
Dirk. Good morning. Yeah, it's doing it again.
gonna happen. And is it doing it again?
Yeah, Dirk lives
Okay, can you hear
in
me?
rural Texas, so he may not be getting
I
that
do.
that Starlink. It's not working
I,
today.
I typically have good. I'm not sure what's going on, but Um, yeah, just interrupt me if you can't hear me. Um, but I think most people that start a service-based company, they start it because they see some path to freedom for themselves. They want to be their own boss. They want to set their own schedule. They want to own their own business, and they see a way to do it. So they maybe have some kind of skill already related to that, or they maybe hire somebody to do something for them, and they say, "Hey, I can do that." When they look at what was done and what they get paid, so they start doing the job, and they learn how to do it. They get into the industry, and most people when they get in, they're very isolated, right? So what they're doing is they're going in, they're starting to do the thing, and if they're committed to doing a good job, if they're committed to showing up, to doing good work, to taking care of their customers, your business is going to grow. Right? There's just such a demand for people to at least show up on time, do a good job, leave the job site cleaned up, and just very basic things that usually if you do that over time, you're going to start growing, you're going to start getting busier. And then the challenges begin, right? Because now all of a sudden you're wearing all the hats and you don't have enough time in the day to service your clients. So you got to hire somebody. And usually by this time, you've put quite a bit of time and effort and energy into learning how to do this the skilled trade, how to do the thing. But you've spent no time at all in learning how to hire people, how to structure an organization, what the economic model should look like. And you start hiring people, and then you hire somebody else and hire somebody else. And we see a lot of companies that actually get to that $750,000 range, that $1 million range, $1.5 million range, where it is driven by sheer willpower and stamina and grit from the owner. But then there comes a breaking point where you just can't keep running your business that way. And that's really the process of going from being the technician that started the business to becoming the CEO that runs the business. And there's a whole different set of skills, learning, understanding that you have to go through, and it's non-technical. And I think like that's the one of the biggest challenges is that most people that are in service-based companies place such a high value on the technical side of the business. I hear this all the time from people like nobody can do this better than I can. I'm better than any of my competitors, when it comes to doing this thing, but yet they don't have the time to take their family on the vacation. They don't have the money to live the life that they really want to, but they're really bought into technically being, really good at doing it. And we kind of label those people as like technical purists, that they place such a high value on the technical side of the business, and they don't understand that that's only one part of the business. We work with service-based companies across multiple industries, and what we've seen is that 80% of building and scaling a service-based company is universal. 20% is unique to that industry. However, when you're in it, you probably believe that it's the opposite, that 80% is unique to my situation, my area where I live right now, my industry, and 20% of it is other stuff, right? It's actually inverse of that. So that's kind of the journey that typically by the time a company gets to us, they're either growing so fast that the wheels are just completely falling off the bus, or they've kind of gotten to maybe a million, million and a half, $2 million a year in revenue, and they're starting to hit some ceilings where now they can't break through that. So those are the two type of companies that typically start working with us.
Yeah. So yeah, the sheer grit and the willpower, and I think that is you probably can help guys through that letting go of everything has to be done perfectly my way every single time in order to scale. So what did I don't know where you want to go with this because we just jumped on this and we're going by the seat of our pants the way a lot of entrepreneurs do things.
That's
Where,
perfect.
so where do you go next in that conversation? So
Well, I
s-
think
s-
that yeah, the starting foundation for us has to be, what the actual vision is of that person. Meaning that where do you see this company going from where you are today? What do you actually see down the road? Because building without a very clearly defined vision is like building a house without any kind of blueprints. you kind of have a picture in your head about it, and you're trying to direct a crew to go build this house, and you really have to be involved in every single step of the process for it to remotely even come out a certain way, right? When you can get the vision out of your head, and the funny thing is, most of the time, uh, the owners assume that other people understand what's in their head. One of the things that we had to go through in one of my businesses a couple of years ago is my team finally just came to me and they said, "We don't know what's in your head. Like we need to just get every single thing out of your head and onto paper." And we started a process of doing that. I mean, it took us about 18 months to do that. And once we got it all laid out, they were able to take the vision and just run with it and really start pushing forward momentum. But as an owner, we typically think that, hey, I've got all these thoughts in my head. My team must know what's going on, and they have no clue. So the first thing that we have to do with a company is really sit down and say, okay, what does this look like? What are you building? And it's not just like, oh, I want a $5 million company. Okay, if you want a $5 million company, what does that look like? What's your role in that $5 million company? Who else do you envision being part of that company? What's your service area? Are you expanded into multiple markets? How much time are you wanting to work? What's your profitability? I mean, there's so many things that go into that. So we just ask a lot of questions to help get really clear on what it is that they actually want to build. And, sometimes they're not quite sure of exactly what they want to build. So it's just a process of really diving in and mining that out and getting clear on that. Once we know that component, then we can plug a system into it to help them get there. And that's what starts being excited is then look, let's take what you have right now, and we get a current org chart mapped out for where they are right now. And then the next step is that we get a future org chart mapped out. So one of our first things we do with the company is say, hey, based on these conversations that we've had, what does your organizational structure look like in 3 years from now? And we actually go ahead and design out that org chart. And then the next step is we build an economic model to overlay with the org chart, the economics of where they are today and the economics of where they need to be in 3 years from now. And we simplify everything. So one thing we've learned is like, man, like you know we try to simplify stuff as much as possible, because there are people out there that try to get people to build on like complex set of systems because they're like systems people, and most entrepreneurs are not systems people. They are kind of fly by the seat of your pants. Like, what's the minimal plan? Like, what should we do right now? So everything that we've done in our program is really simplify things down to say it's easy to explain, it's easy to understand. It doesn't mean it's always the easiest thing to execute, because you still have to really build disciplines around this to think differently and show up differently and focus on different things. But at least it's a plan that you can understand, your executive leadership team can understand. And that's one of the next steps that we do is once we get that structure, the economic model, now it's time for you to start building your team. And the thing that we look at is we look at all of your current people and say, who that you're already in business with can be the right people to really help you build this, and or who do you need to go find, hire, recruit to be part of this journey. And that's kind of what starts the whole process off.
Let me take two steps back a minute and ask. I'm taking notes if you see me looking down. So so the first thing is pull the vision out of your head, and so what does that look like for a lot of guys that are listening? Because we got people listening that may be doing 7 or 8 figures, but we also got people doing this that maybe have not sold their first job yet, or maybe they've been in business for 3 or 6 months. And part of one of my goals is to help guys go from treading water to kind of up and moving a little faster. So question is, how do you get that vision out of your head, and what part of the vision do you say to the team? Because I know a lot of people, you mentioned freedom, and all of the things that people generally start a business for. How do you take that vision and distill it down into something that's easily digestible for your team? And how deep do you go with, here's what we're doing in 3 years, 5 years? um, if you're a zero and you want to have 50 locations and $200 million in 7, if that's even a thing, how do you lay that vision out in bite-sized pieces so that your team can get on with it and find it maybe believable? Because you know as well as I do that not everyone is as optimistic as other people.
Yeah, that's a great question. So one thing that you really have to do is you have to find out what level of the vision conversation is appropriate for who in the organization, right? Because like you said, and actually most people are not going to be on board with like going after that really big vision, right? So the only way to understand that is that you have to know your people. And this is where our what we do is very different, than traditional hiring systems, and what a lot of other people, really kind of train on this kind of stuff is that we 100% prescribe to the belief that you should only hire somebody to work in your business if you can help them get what they want. So what does that mean? That means that you're going to have conversations with them about what's important to them, what do they want to see happen in their lives, and what does that look like. And that's part of the hiring process that we use is when we hire people, and the system that we train companies on is you don't actually talk about exactly what the job is or what the pay is until the final interview when you're making an offer to them, which means that sometimes somebody's going to meet with you. If you're hiring kind of a boots to the ground technician, you may meet with them 3 or 4 times, over 3 4 weeks before you make the offer to them. If you're meeting with an executive leadership person, you may meet with them 7 times over 6 7 weeks before you make the offer to them. And I know right now people that are listening to that is like, Dirk, you don't understand. Like, we have so much demand right now. We got to hire people this week. I gotta, you know. And what happens is if you don't slow down to hire the right people, you're going to hire people that may not be the right person for you for the position. It's not the right opportunity for them. And what's going to happen is they're going to burn out. They're not going to be part of the vision. They're going to get frustrated, and they're not going to be a long-term viable part of your company. The way that we look at it is, look, even if I'm hiring a brand new technician to be boots to the ground in my company, I want to hire somebody that I feel that they want to learn, they want to grow, they want to excel. Like, at one day they may see themselves in a leadership position. Doesn't mean it's going to be anytime soon, but I want to feel like I am hiring somebody, and not just feel like I want them to tell me what's important to them. Because if I can hire somebody that wants something in their life, if I can hire somebody that, they got a goal, like, hey, I'm getting married, we're gonna want to buy a house, we're gonna want to, then I know, okay, this person's got some stuff in their personal life that they're going to want to achieve. And if I lay out the expectations and the standards of how they need to perform in my world, then we're in alignment, right? If they say, yes, I can do this job, and I know what they want in their life, and those things are in alignment, now we're fully vested together to go after it. But what we typically find is too many times companies are just hiring somebody. They're just grabbing somebody to fill a need in the company right now. And essentially what you're doing is like, I don't really care who you are, what's important to you or your family. Just come in here to do this job so that I can get what I want. And that's traditionally how
Yeah.
businesses have been built.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think,
So
sorry,
if
go
I
ahead.
can, interject here, I think this one thing, if we stopped right here and let this sink in, this would probably be a game changer, because this was a game changer for me. Um, Now the way we hire, it's they come and they meet with everybody. They
Mhm.
get interviewed, they fill an application, but then they spend time with everybody in the company. And it's 2, 3, 4 times in. We're not talking about money at all
Yeah.
until we make the offer. And,
Mhm.
and it's so weird to me now when somebody comes in and on day one, the first thing they do is they're asking about money. And it's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It almost feels like, a first date, right? And it's like, whoa, that's too far for the first date.
It
And
is.
and I think what you said to your point of you don't understand, I need people today. I went with that model for a long time, and what would happen? You'd get somebody, and then your productivity would go up, and then it crashes, and then it goes up, and you find yourself you're like riding a roller coaster. And if and I used to be around older, wiser business people who I would talk to them about things. Hey, you should do this or try this. You can make a lot of money doing this. And they'd say, well, we just really want to get good at what we're doing and focus. And they were looking at the long-term gain. And I didn't understand why they wouldn't jump on all these opportunities. And I think the point is that sometimes slower is faster, right? So if you can take the time to get those people and hire them right, I think that's a good thing. Because I'm looking at this comment right here that says, I'll take 100 to find one worth keeping. So they're going through 100 people to get one. And then when they do buy their soul, I'm not quite sure what that means. But to go through 100 people, like you want zero turnover. So why would you hire those 100 if they're not going to work? When we hire one, we keep one generally. And so can you speak about that for a minute and what kind of difference you see? Because you get to look at this from overhead and see people that change from just bringing people in over and over and over to being intentional. And then when you find one, you get it. Talk about that if you don't mind.
Yeah, so here's what it reminds me of, right? I'm a little bit of a country boy, and we live out on a ranch, so we do a lot of off-roading and stuff like that. And it's kind of like being in a truck or a Jeep or something like that and being stuck in the mud, where you're just sitting there spinning all four tires, you're not catching traction, it's a lot of wear on all your components, you're not really going anywhere, but your engine's revving. And that's what it's like when you're in a company with turnover. It's just a grind. Your profitability sucks. You got no time freedom. It just wears on everybody all the way around. Even like if you have really committed good people, it just wears them down too. It wears morale down. And what happens is, if you're in that position, you got to start finding traction. And what you have to do is you have to start by hiring the next right person. And that's something that we talk to companies a lot about, because a lot of the companies that we work with have at least 10 team members. I mean, some of the companies we work with have 150, 200 team members, but even on a smaller team, you got to ask yourself, who's the next right hire for me to make? It may not be just hiring another technician to come in and try to add more revenue. It may be that, hey, now's the time for you to invest and hire a really good operational person. And that's, by the way, one of the first important hires that you have to make if you're going to scale a company is you need a really great operator. We call it an operator, an operations integrator in our world. But you need somebody that can help you with systems, with processes, and a lot of times you're investing in that person. I mean, that's a person that's not directly generating revenue, and that's again a mindset shift, right? Where when you think like a CEO, you start thinking in terms of what do I need to do to invest in my company to scale it, not just how do I make a few more dollars, right? Because the technician's going to think of like, how do I make another $1,000 this month? How do I make another $5,000? Whereas CEO says, what do I need to do today to make sure that we're making another $3 million, 3 years from now? And that's where you have to start thinking one further out, and in doing that, you start slowing down and making your most important decisions, which is going to be hiring. So if you want to catch that traction where you kind of like, again, that analogy, you kind of start lifting out of that mud pit and now you can put it in two-wheel drive and hit the accelerator and start really going forward, and start picking up speed and momentum. It starts with the next right hire. And after you make the next right hire, it's making the next right hire. For us, making the right hires is the single most important thing that you can do in a business to succeed. We 100% believe that being in business with the right people is the X factor to building a great business. I don't care how smart you are, I don't care how technically good you are. You are not smart enough, you're not good enough to build a business. You may be smart enough and good enough to be self employed and create a job for yourself over time, then you don't really need anything that we're talking about right now. But if you want to build a business is about people, systems, and processes, right? A business should be able to operate without you being there. If that's what you want to build, the only thing that you have to focus on is finding the right people to be in business with.
What you said just gave me a thought. Um, if you distill this down and make it really, really simple, do you have kids, Dirk?
I do. I've got 2 kids.
Okay, so if you had kids and your kids were bored and they needed somebody to play with, would you just pick any gangster off the street? You know, just any wild kid that maybe is doing drugs or stealing things and crazy kid to just play with your kid? Well, just but they got energy. They just need to play with somebody. Would you let them play with just any kid, or would you be very selective with what child you let your children play with, and what would the outcome be if you did either one? And I think if you think of your team members like that, that's a good way to look at it. You know, if you put your kids hanging out with a gangster, your kid's going to become a gangster, right? And if you put your kid with somebody whose parents are aligned and they're good people, and then you can kind of relax and hope that things go well. So I think that's a good analogy for that. Um, do
Well,
you want to?
the crazy thing about that is that if you're a business owner, you're probably going to spend more time, at least initially, with that person you hire than you are even your own kids, right? And I think it's a great analogy because you have to be hyper aware of who you bring into that environment. For us, like, our work team is like our second family. It's important to us to protect who comes into that circle because it's not just about my business growing, it's about our team thriving, and it's a different mindset. I mean, we encourage business owners to make decisions not just based on what you're going to get out of it, but what are your teammates going to get out of it. And I love what you guys do to have everybody kind of meet that new person, because then the team feels also that they've got ownership in who comes into the organization, right? They have a say in it. They're not just bystanders in the process, like they're actually part of the process.
Well, and many, well, you know, if as the owner or maybe the operations person who's doing the hiring, that person's going to act different with them than they do with the guy who's sweeping the floor, right? And so
Mhm.
I think those many eyes and personalities can bring out, maybe if there is something there that you want to catch on, those other people can bring it out, because the whole office may feel like, oh, this guy's great, you know, and then the people from operations might come up and go, hey, you better watch this guy. He's probably not one of us. And I
Absolutely.
think that's a good thing. I heard a story about a guy who he started a new job. I'm assuming it was in fast food. I think in fast food, and he took a job, and he was trained properly by the owner of the franchise. So let's just say a McDonald's owner or whatever. And so the owner spent all this time with this new hire and showed him how to do all of these things. And he said, I don't know why our people don't do certain things, you know, the right way, but this is the right way to do it. You're supposed to do this. And then when the guy worked his first shift, he started, when he had downtime, he started restocking things, you know, and doing this. And the manager walks over to him and says, hey, what are you doing? Then he says, you know, I thought I was supposed to restock the shelves and take out the trash or whatever, do these things. And the manager goes, oh no, we don't worry, but we don't do any of that stuff. And then walked off. And then so the kid's expectations and his life went from here way down to the next level. So good people are very important, because those people are the face of your company. And when you're not there, they're doing stuff that sometimes might surprise you, right? So being intentional about those hires is it. What's the next step? And once you start getting aligned and getting good people, where do we go from there?
Yeah, so for us, it's the big equation for us is finding the right person, putting them in the right position with the right motivation. And once you start accomplishing that, then the job is to start releasing responsibility to your key people. So we actually use a very simple business model. We call it the SOG model, SOG, and it stands for services, operations, and growth. So we've seen this work across a lot of different organizations, right? One of our newest clients is about a $15 million a year solar development company, and they just took on $30 million worth of contracts. So they got to grow really fast, and they
Hey, Dirk, you've muted yourself. Let me unmute you.
Right, can you hear me?
Yeah, your mic got disconnected, it said, but yeah, you're good. But say that one more time. SOG, services, operation, and growth.
Yeah, services, operations, and growth.
All right. And they
So
went from 15 million and just got a $35 million contract.
right, and I mean these guys have, I mean they've got an ability to become a $200 million company in the next 2 or 3 years.
But their organizational chart was so complex because they've got engineers and they got this, and I mean it was just so complex. And we're able to take this fairly good sized company and really just distill it down to the most simplest version. And what's happening now is that they're and whether you already have 150 people in your organization or you've got 5 people in your organization, the faster that you can implement this model, the quicker you're going to scale. Because what this model essentially looks at it's kind of a 4-person model, right? The CEO, the director of services, operations, and growth. And even if you're a really small team, I would encourage you to immediately start looking at who is owning each one of those hats, because if you don't have people in that area, you're owning all 4 of those. And you're doing the technician work, right? The services work. And we classify services as anything that's done as a service in exchange for dollars, right? So anything. So some companies have multiple services. Operations is it's your hiring, it's your financial, it's your systems, your processes, it's answering the phone, it's all those things. And then the growth is obviously the marketing side, prospecting, that kind of stuff. But once you get the right people in there, now it's time to start giving them responsibility. And that's scary for a lot of owners because, again, maybe nobody does it as well as I do. What if they make mistakes? What if they screw things up? And one thing I usually tell business owners when we work with them is, hey, did you screw some things up building your business? Have you made some mistakes that cost you a lot of money? And there's not a single business owner ever that can say, no, I didn't, right? Everybody did. So I'll say, okay, you made all those mistakes. You cost your company money. They will too. It's called investing into people. So like sometimes business owners, like they hire somebody. I made a lot of mistakes building my business. I hire somebody and I hold them to a perfect standard. It's like, that's not fair. It's just like your kids. Your kids do stupid stuff all the time, but it's like through that you're training them in a safe environment in the house so that one day they can leave the house and they've got the values and the principles and the training and the understanding and the perspective because of what you did for them, right? And I mean, think about it. It's like in our society, it takes like 18 years to kind of train a kid through that process, but people want to hire somebody and they got to be perfect in like 3 months. Like, no, it's going to take some time. Can you find the right people where you can give them responsibility, you can give them autonomy, and they can make mistakes, they can learn, they can grow, and um, obviously as they go through that process, they can get better. And as they get better, you give them more and more responsibility. But the faster that you as an owner can get out of the way, the faster they're going to step up. Because one of the things that we see all the time is that owners stifle their people. They want to micromanage them. They want to tell them what to do. They want to be all over all of that, and then they want to hold the results accountable and like make it all about that person. Like, well, it's your fault. It's like, no, look, if people are succeeding, it's because they're doing things right. If they are failing, it's because you as a leader have failed them in some capacity. I had somebody in one of our trainings one time, and we were talking about people and people working for you and stuff, and challenges with teammates and employees, and then he goes, well, you can't fix stupid. And I looked at him and I said, well, who hired stupid? You did, right? If you hired somebody that you call stupid in your organization, you are the one. So who's really the stupid person here, right? And it's that kind of thought that as an owner, if you got somebody that's continually screwing stuff up on your team, like you hired them, that's your responsibility. And we hear this all the time that, like this is where it gets hard is when, as an owner, again, that you're shouldering all of this and you're trying to move your company forward and there's so much stress. And man, like one thing that I just got to say, because I mean, this is just important for all those smaller companies that if you're just starting out or you're at 100 or 200, thousand in revenue and like you've got that $1 million mark, I just want you to know that when you hit that $1 million mark, it doesn't mean that it's going to be any easier. You're going to have any more money or any more time freedom than you do today. Most of the companies today in America that we see that are $1 million companies have enormous stress on their shoulders. Their profitability is still really bad, and they've got no time freedom.
Yeah, that's when you realize how far you have to go, right?
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that it can't be good at a million, but if you want it to be good at a million, you got to start designing it right from 200,000. And that's the thing, because and again, I do think today in America, building $1 million company is probably like building a $300,000 company 10 years ago. It's it's not what it used to be. I think people still kind of look at that like $1 million mark or being a millionaire, something like that, and they kind of want to hold it to the same standard what it used to be. It's not. I would say today a $5 million company is like the new $1 million company kind of thing, where because again, like there's such demand in the marketplace. Like prices are higher than they've been. I mean, but everything else is higher too, right? The cost of labor is going up. Prices of materials. I mean, everything's going up. So it's going to be more important for business owners to be really dialed in with their people, their systems, their process, their economic models, if they want to build successful businesses, right? But it is one of those things, man. Like you got to get out of the way, because if you hire talented people, and that's always our goal, is hire talented people. Talented people doesn't mean that it's somebody that has to cost you six figures to hire. Somewhere out there right now, there's an 18, 19-year-old kid that is hungry, they're smart, they want to do something, they're looking for an opportunity. The question is, can you go find them? Somewhere out there, there's a 24-year-old person that's the exact same thing. Somewhere out there, there's a 30-year-old person. Somewhere there's a 40 or 50-year-old person. I mean, like, we believe that there are incredibly talented people everywhere that are looking for opportunities. That's our belief system. What we hear a lot of times, especially in service companies and trade type companies, is that I can't find good people anywhere, right? If that's you and that's what you're saying, it's because you don't know how to find them. It's not that they don't exist. Like, if you truly believe there's no good people out there that are looking for jobs right now, like, then already you have lost in the competition of building businesses. If my perspective and my belief is that there's good people out there and I know how to find them, like, I will crush you in business. If your belief is that there's no good people out there and you can't find them.
I agree with that.
It's a people game, and like that's what
Yeah.
that's what people forget, is that business is a people game. That's all it is.
I
The
think
right
everybody,
people will build the right systems and processes for you. They'll take responsibility. They'll move the ball forward for you. They'll help you build the company.
I think everybody just that says there's no good people out there. I find that the total opposite of what I think. I think, wow, there's so many great people out here.
Hmm.
I think everybody just expects them to walk into their door, though.
Yeah.
So how many times have you recruited somebody from a restaurant or from another business or from somewhere? Have you done that before? Or you seen that?
Oh, we do that all the time.
That's
I mean,
it.
that's part of our game plan, is that we say that there's two different ways to kind of get talent, right? One is a radar approach, and then one is kind of a systematic marketing approach, right? So your systematic marketing approach is like your Indeed, your LinkedIn, your Monster, like, I mean, all that kind of stuff, right? Your radar approach is that anytime that I am out in public somewhere and I see somebody doing something that impresses me, something goes off my radar that says that's talent. I need to go talk to that person right now. And yeah, I mean, I used to run real estate teams and run real estate brokerages. And man, like, I found like some of the greatest people,
Mhm.
teachers, bartenders, nurses, people that were in these jobs that naturally had to deal with a lot of people, deal with pressure, deal with stress, things like that. And we would start the recruiting process of getting them into our world and then giving them a system to thrive in. And I think that recruiting is one of the best things, because the other thing that you got to understand, and goes back all the way to the first of the conversation, is your vision, right? Your vision, your mission, your values, and your culture sets the level of attractiveness for talent to come into your world. So if I can't articulate correctly who we are as an organization, what we're about, and where we're going, is going to hinder my ability to recruit. But the other thing is, that doesn't mean that I just like say BS, because then you're going to have turnover again, right? If I'm selling BS and somebody comes into my world and they come in and this is totally different than what I explained to them, then they're going to feel like a bait and switch and they're going to leave. So then I get turnover issues. So you have to be able to articulate it correctly. But the other thing too is, it starts with getting to know the other person. It starts with building a relationship with them. And typically, by the time that somebody goes through our process, and you guys may find the same thing in what you do, because you guys slow it down and spend more time, is by the time that we hire somebody, get ready to hire them, they'll tell us like, I think you know more about me than, like what my mom knows about me at this point, or my dad knows about me, or like, man, like I've told you stuff in this process that I haven't even told some of my friends. And it's because we take hours to explore people. We go through their life journey. We want to know all the way from like when you were a little kid, what life did you play sports when you were a kid? Did you enjoy junior high? Like what was your high school years like? What were college? We just get to know them through their journey, because that reveals so much to us about who this person is. You may find that somebody has gone through some incredible hardships as a teenager, and that they've built incredible grit, and you would never have learned that, and that there's somebody that could probably have grit in your life. Because the other thing too is, one of the things that we look for is upward trajectory, right? Somebody started off at a restaurant, they were washing dishes, and then they started helping the chef in the kitchen, and then they became a waiter, and then they became like, one of the kind of head waiters, and then they got moved into the bar, and they became the bartender, and then they became the assistant manager, and then they became the manager, but they're working for a small mom and pop restaurant. Now they're looking for another opportunity. I would hire that person in a heartbeat if that was the only thing that I knew about them. I mean, obviously there's other things I definitely need to know about them, but they're already displaying that they can start somewhere and work their way up in an organization. But a lot of times what people do is they hire people with flat trajectory, or they start hiring people that have downward trajectory. And I've learned that I am not good enough as a leader and as an entrepreneur to save somebody that's got flat trajectory or downward trajectory. I used to think that, when I was in my 20s and in my 30s, like, I used to be like, oh, I can, early 30s, I could still like save people. Today, it's like I only look for people that already have upward trajectory, people that can succeed on their own before they even get to my world. That's one of my favorite things to do is I hire people that have upward trajectory, and that's a big part of doing that life story, right? So I get to know them, I study the patterns in their life. We also future pace them. Every single person we hire, we have an hour to 90-minute to 2-hour discussion about what's important to you over the next 5 years of your life. What do you want to see happen? And if we can go into business together and we can knock it out of the park, like what would you want to see happen in your life? Hey, I want to be able to retire my parents. I want to be able to, take my family to Disney World. I want to be able to buy a house. I want to be able to, go on a month-long vacation. Like whatever it is, like it doesn't matter, but like I need to understand what's important to that person. So we also use multiple assessments to assess, and that helps us really understand, are they going to be right for that position, that environment, the job that they're going to be doing? How quick are they going to learn? How much mental stimulation do they need? So we have other stuff that we throw into the mix as well. But by the time that I hire somebody, I'm already going to have a really good relationship with them before day one that they get on the job. Ideally, they need to be able to see me as a mentor and a coach and somebody that cares about them before day one on the job. If I've done that correctly, then I'm going to get somebody. And if all the other things are check marks, yeses, we're going to have a really good working relationship. And the other thing I've discovered is, we've gotten a lot better at systematically training people. But in my entrepreneurial mode, I'm actually not very good at training people. I move fast. I'll say like, hey, here's how we go through this 10-step process. It's 1, 5, 7, and 9, and then 10. And that's the way that I would train somebody. But the system then says, no, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? The point being that I used to think that I can just hire people and then I'll train them to be really good. And what I've done now is I hire people that are really good. And even if my training is subpar, they're going to fill in the gaps, and the team can help fill in the gaps, and the system can help fill in the gaps. So it's completely changed the way that we approach business. And this is the way that we help other people as well, because we believe if you hire the right people and you really understand that you got the right person for the right position with the right motivation, you're going to win.
Yeah, it's just like a ball team. You're not, if you want to win your championship wherever you are, you start with winners, right? This is awesome.
That's it. Yeah.
I think this needs to be like a 3-part podcast. Like I think we should schedule some more of these, because I think this is a big enough bite-sized piece to probably kill it right here.
Absolutely, man. I'd be glad to come back anytime.
I think this is enough to get everybody to think about for a minute, because this is worth digesting. So I'm just going to go over some notes. first you gotta, if you're the owner, you gotta pull that vision out of your head and make it where the team can understand it and put it on paper. I talked about a 3-year out. You talked about a 3-year out organization chart. I think that the way that's going to relate to new guys is, what do you want it to look like in 3 years? Draw it, and then start hiring those most important roles first. Hire them only if you can help them get what they want. That's a cool one. I like that. And the right people are the X factor in business. That goes without saying. And then services, operations, growth, very similar. That, it could be, it's just a different way of calling it, right? We call it marketing, we call it operations, we call it different things. Future pace, what's important in your life over the next 5 years? That's an important question. People who plan and have dreams tend to work harder than those who are just waking up every morning and Groundhog Day, right? Just reacting to everything. So we don't have any questions. It looks like everybody's saying that you're answering the questions. And here's one that just popped up. It says, I definitely have thought of approaching someone at a grocery store gym and ask if they're happy in their job and try to get to know them more. I think the next time I see someone in public that I see potential in, I think you don't even ask them if they're happy. I think you just said, hey, I'd love to work with you. You've got some talent, and tell them, just try to get them right there. You don't want to steal somebody from one of your competitors, I don't think. But
all right, so let me just kind of throw a line out of how you approach that person, right? It's like the talent pickup line, right? So you see somebody doing something, the person at the grocery store, the person at the restaurant where you get your hair cut. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? When you see them doing something, go up and say, hey, I just noticed that you handled this situation in a really, really amazing way. Like, it really impressed me. I'm a business owner. We have a business that is growing fast, and we are looking to hire more people to really work with us, to be in business with us, to continue to grow this business. Would you be open to, exploring an opportunity with me? Okay, so it's not we don't want to use the words ever like apply or job or anything like that, but it's about like, hey, we're building something. And usually the first thing that somebody may ask you is like, hey, is this a multi-level marketing thing? And just laugh and say, no, it's not. Here's my website, here's my company's name. Like, we actually have a company here in town or wherever that happens to say, look, we've got a legitimate company. We're growing fast right now. We've got some big goals, and we need some key people to be part of this journey. The way that you handled that situation gave me an immediate check that you are the type of person that I would want to be in business with. Are you open to exploring, an opportunity with us? And really, that's kind of the conversation that kicks off the whole recruiting and selection process for bringing somebody in. So from that point forward, like we've got a whole process that's laid out, and we can talk about that again on another podcast. Of how do you, from that point forward, from getting them to opt in to going through the process, how to make sure that they are the right person all the way to, hey, I'm making them an offer. But I would absolutely, whoever this person is, Facebook user, your name's not on there, but I would definitely, if you have the opportunity to approach somebody, walk up and go approach them. Just open up a conversation with them, because you never know, like, that could have been the moment where that is the person that is meant to be in business with you, and that could take your business to the next level. So always take that opportunity.
Yeah, you never know. It's crazy. Dirk, what should the next chapter be? What should we talk about next time?
Man, there's so many things, but I mean, we could talk more about, actual, what does this process look like to explore opportunity with people. We can talk about that, or we can talk about really building out your executive leadership team, and what that dynamic looks like, what kind of people you want in each one of those positions, services, operations, and growth as the leaders. Because what we've done is we've actually dialed in the profiles, so we can, look at most companies and we can say exactly like, hey, this is the profile you need. This is, what you're looking for. I mean, like, what we've tried to do is kind of not just make it a guessing game, but kind of bring art and science together to say like, hey, here's the proven process of who to hire. Once you hire them, what do they do, all that kind of stuff. So it takes the guessing game out of building businesses, and like that's what we wanted to do, is just take the guessing work out of it. Like, hey, here's a proven system to follow. Just follow the system, you can build a great business.
I love it. Yeah, let's do that next. And guys, if you're listening, comment, because this is going to go. It's everywhere: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. There's 3 different Facebook sites it's on, and then we share it everywhere. So drop your questions in. What do you want to see next time? Dirk, thank you for coming, man. I know you're a busy guy. I got a meeting at 10. You probably got 3 at 10 as well. So let's do it again soon.
Okay, no, pleasure to just get to hang out with you, man. And
Yeah,
I look forward to continue to build a relationship with you. And
pull the shirt up so everybody can see. So that's where Dirk's from. So check them out if you're interested in that. I don't even think you need to, I think just Google it, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty unique name. So if you just Google Bergflow, you'll find us. Awesome,
man. Dirk, thanks. And I can't wait for the next one.
Absolutely. Thanks, Caleb. Have a great weekend coming up.
Thanks, guys. Check out, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and check us all out online, man. You know what to do. Thanks, guys.